Welcome to this explainer. Imagine standing on the deck of a ship, looking out in literally every direction and seeing nothing but water. To most of us, the open ocean is this terrifying, completely featureless void, right? There are no road signs, no visible paths, zero landmarks. But, to a skilled navigator, that vast, empty expanse is actually a giant canvas of precise, solvable geometry. Today, we're going to systematically build your navigational toolset layer by layer. I'm going to show you exactly how mariners take the chaotic, rolling ocean and turn it into a precise, mathematical grid. Here's how we're going to break it all down today. First, we'll look at the anatomy of nautical charts. Then, we dive into the math of navigation, followed by determining your true position. After that, we're tackling the real-world elements with navigating wind and currents. And finally, we'll wrap up with some really cool advanced navigation techniques. Let's jump right in.
All right, Section 1, Anatomy of Nautical Charts.
So if you're picturing an old, dusty roll of parchment right now, it is definitely time to update that mental model. Today, navigators basically rely on two main types of electronic charts. On one hand, you've got raster charts. These are essentially just scanned digital photocopies of traditional flat paper charts. Pretty basic. But on the other hand, we have modern electronic navigation charts, or ENCs. Think of an ENC like Google Earth, but for the ocean. It's a massive vector-based database. This means you can infinitely zoom in to reveal more and more detail, instantly pulling up water depths, hidden hazards, lighthouse frequencies, the whole shebang. It saves absolutely precious time when you're trying to thread the needle through a treacherous, rocky harbor. But whether you're looking at an old-school raster or a high-tech ENC, you run headfirst into the exact same fundamental problem. The Earth is a sphere and your screen is perfectly flat. To fix this, mariners have historically relied on the Mercator projection. This projection mathematically translates our 3D spherical world onto a 2D flat surface. It's basically like taking a giant paper cylinder, wrapping it tightly around the equator, tracing the map, and then just unrolling it flat. Now, the absolutely crucial takeaway here is that the Mercator map is explicitly designed to do one incredible thing. It makes rhumb lines appear perfectly straight. A rhumb line is just a course where you maintain a constant compass direction. And honestly, that is incredibly practical when you're standing at the helm, just trying to steer a ship in a straight line. But there's no free lunch, right? This convenience comes at a really heavy cost. To keep those lines of longitude equally spaced and parallel, the Mercator chart wildly distorts the scale as you move further north or south. It's why Greenland ends up looking exactly the same size as all of Africa. In fact, charting the exact polar regions on a Mercator map is literally impossible. Here's the crazy part, though. For really long ocean passages, a rhumb line actually isn't the shortest distance between 2 points. A great circle is. But on our trusty Mercator chart, great circles look like giant, sweeping curves. So, to get around this, navigators will sometimes switch over to an azimuthal mnemonic projection. Try saying that 3 times fast. On this specific map, those great circles appear perfectly straight. So mariners will use this to plot the absolute shortest route across an entire ocean, pull their exact waypoints, and then transfer those coordinates back onto their everyday Mercator chart to actually sail the boat. It's a brilliant workaround. Okay, moving right along to Section 2, the math of navigation. Now that we have our map, we need some tools to traverse it. Every single time a navigator looks at a chart, they are constantly calculating 3 things: the distance they're going to cover, the time it's going to take, and the speed required to actually get there. The good news? You can anchor all of this math with one incredibly simple, vital mnemonic, the DTS triangle. This neat little triangle mathematically locks together distance in nautical miles, time in hours, and speed in knots. Let's see how beautifully accessible this raw arithmetic really is with a quick, real-world problem. Say you want to figure out exactly how far you'll travel in 45 minutes if you're cruising at a speed of 12 knots. First, you just convert your time into hours, so 45 divided by 60. Easy enough. Then you multiply that time by your speed of 12 knots. The result? Exactly 9 nautical miles. Boom. It really is just that straightforward.
Let's raise the stakes a bit. Section 3, Determining your true position.
So you know how fast you're going, but how do you plot exactly where you are out there on the open water? To do this, navigators use a very specific, almost secret visual language drawn directly onto the chart. A straight line with a single arrowhead, that indicates a line of position, or a water track. A line with 2 arrowheads, that represents your ground track, or course made good. And if you ever spot a line with triple arrowheads, that shows the flow of an ocean current. You might even see double arrowheads sitting right at the end of a line, which tells us it's a transferred position line. Every single mark has a very precise meaning. The most foundational way of plotting your position is something called dead reckoning, which is usually marked on a chart with a simple little cross. Fun fact here, this was originally spelled DED, short for deduced reckoning, before an overly enthusiastic schoolmaster historically corrected the spelling. Anyway, dead reckoning is simple. You take your known starting point, draw a line in the direction you're heading, and mark off how far your DTS math says you've traveled. But here's the massive catch. Dead reckoning assumes you are sailing in a completely perfect world. It takes absolutely zero account of wind or current, which, let's be honest, can leave you dangerously exposed to the actual elements. To get a true, reliable fix on your position, you have to look out at the real world. By taking a compass bearing on a known landmark, say a lighthouse, you create a line of position. You now know you are somewhere on that specific line. Take a bearing on a second landmark, and where those two lines cross is your exact position. But I gotta warn you, if you use 3 landmarks and the lines don't meet perfectly in the middle, they form a little triangle, known as a cocked hat. And if that hat is large, well, that's just the ocean's way of telling you your fix is dangerously unreliable. Which brings us to the chaos of the real world. Section 4, Navigating Wind and Currents. As we know, the ocean is definitely not a static swimming pool. The wind is constantly trying to push your ship sideways, and hidden currents are dragging it right off its intended course. So the really big question we have to ask is, when the elements are actively fighting against you, how do you actually calculate where you're going, or where you just ended up? This introduces the 2 most important, and frankly the most frequently confused, vector calculations in all of marine navigation. We really need to draw a hard line between an estimated position and a course to steer. They are the exact opposites of one another. An estimated position is a historical record. It calculates where the wind and current have already pushed you. Meanwhile, a course to steer is entirely predictive. It calculates the exact heading you need to steer right now in order to fight the future push of those elements and actually arrive at your targets. What's so interesting about this calculation is how we build that estimated position by stacking the vectors visually. Because it's historical, you start in the past. First, you draw your ship's head, the exact direction you were pointing. Next, you apply the leeway, which is that annoying downwind slide caused by the wind pushing against the boat. That gives you your actual water track. Finally, you draw the current vector, showing how the water itself dragged you away. Connect your starting point to that final finish line, and that new triangle marks your estimated position. It's the brutal mathematical reality of where the ocean actually took you. Now, flip that around, and you have the complete reverse process for a course to steer. Since this is predictive, you actually start with your destination. You draw out your ground track first. That's the exact line you want to make good over the seabed. Then you apply the current vector right at the start, measure your boat's speed to find the water track, and finally, you allow for that wind leeway. Working backward like this reveals the precise ship's head you need to give to your helmsman. If you steer that heading, the elements will literally push you directly to your goal. It's almost like a magic trick. All right, our final building block, Section 5, Advanced Navigation Techniques. Let's say your compass completely shatters, or your electronics totally fail. You aren't necessarily lost. Old-school navigators can use a sextant, literally turned on its side, to measure the horizontal angles between 3 visible landmarks. Those angles can then be used to construct intersecting circles of position right on the chart. Your location is exactly where those circles cross. It's amazing. You're locking in your survival using nothing but pure geometry and the visual relationship of the land around you. But hey, sextants aren't just for horizontal angles. Think about the right-angled triangle formed between a ship, the base of a lighthouse, and its peak. Because the Earth is curved, objects dip below the horizon at very predictable mathematical distances. By knowing the exact height of a lighthouse and measuring the vertical angle to its top, a navigator can use basic trigonometry to calculate exactly how far away they are from that hazard. They can literally set a danger angle on their instrument. As long as they stay outside that angle, it ensures the ship turns away long before it gets anywhere near the rocks. So the next time you find yourself standing on a shoreline or out on the deck of a boat looking out at what seems like a totally featureless horizon, I really hope you see it just a little bit differently. Navigation takes the scary, trackless void of the open ocean and turns it into a solvable, incredibly elegant mathematical puzzle. Armed with just a chart, a compass, and a solid understanding of time and speed, the whole world opens up. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep exploring.